Thank you for the follow.
she can talk to me. To myself. To myself.
Everybody to our final matchup here in season 1 of the Challengers Elite. We've got grand finals for North America ready to go. Best of 7. On my whole ship with me, I've got Jeremy Studdy. And brother, this is going to be a fun one because it's a rematch of the winners finals. There were some lapses, I would say, in how Boston played yesterday, in particular on the hard point, but they look like they've cleaned up a lot of it as we get ready for this grand finals best of 7.
Yeah, they got through that gruel over series versus Convoy all the way into game number 5, but on the Rio S&D, they look textbook from start to finish of that map. Now they have a final dance versus SFT, trying to get their redemptions because they're undefeated throughout this elite if they don't play SFT. Yeah. But now you have a chance to right your wrongs. So Boston Academy, they got to be foaming out the mouth, ready to go in this series.
Have to think so. But on the other side of things, yesterday, it was pretty much all SFT. Outside of the invasion control, they dominated, and a lot of it came from the ARs, and that's where I think both of our focuses are largely going to stand, especially considering that, hey, not only did they look good yesterday, but Shawnee didn't have a particularly great series to start the evening off in the lower finals, and that could play major dividends pending he hasn't been able to pick things up going into this series.
Yeah, he's got to pick it up because we saw the performances yesterday. More specifically, Sam Willie, he drops a 1.5. Pro MR was right there next to him, putting up the kills, putting up the dammy as the AR duo. And we just saw Shawnee play. They did walk away with the W, but in those respawns, it was very difficult for him to find some success with that AR. And versus this team in Space Fish Tacos, if you don't have any with that AR to hold down a couple lanes, open up that stuff for your SMGs to have some fun, it's going to be a tough time.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that take. And I think on the other side of things, you know, for SFT, you look at their roster, and yeah, we know John Exotic. We've seen great stuff out of Pro MR, by far his breakout year without question. Sam Welly, though, like you mentioned, he has been essentially a walking 1.5 all challenger season long. He's been unbelievable. And I think the bigger thing about, you know, looking at yesterday, Deceptions has a miserable invasion control, but then bounces back and really takes over when they played Skid Row. So I'll be curious to see what SFT's main SFG will do here in the early stages of this series.
Yeah, and because they got invasion control as well, so you get a chance to right your wrongs. What was it, like 4 and 20 on that map? That's awful. You don't want to have that if you are in Deceptions, but you're not even focused on that. You made it through that series yesterday. Today's a completely different day. You just got to come out hot because Boston Academy, like I said, they just finished the series, so their guns are warm. They know exactly what they need to do to now counter you guys because you played them yesterday and you beat the hell out of them in 2 hard points. The good thing stuff so far is that they already eliminated that invasion HP. They got rid of that one right off the rip. And then for obviously Space Fish Tacos, you get rid of Karachi. You also get rid of Karachi Search and Destroy and even the Karachi Control. All right, these guys don't love any up and close. They want to make sure those players are having a jolly old time when they're spawning in.
And, you know, the other thing about this, looking at the sub-base invasion hardpoint on Rio start, is that there is a lot of dynamic elements that come into play here. I think in particular for SFT, we need to look at a Deceptions player because I will say in times previous, maybe not so much yesterday in the winners finals, but times previous, he can be reluctant to swap off the rival 9. We know that Boston can be formidable when they pull 4 ARs out, so we'll see how things go. First couple of kills, though, perfect for SFT. Oh, absolutely perfect. Sam Wells.
Ow!
Goodness gracious. Talk about starting off hot. SFT all over this opener.
Hey, you best believe these guys are warming up, shooting 1,000 pops before they got into this lobby, as they are finding every single kill in the feed. Not one even calculated for Boston Academy until Pentagram sneaks his way up through water side. But that's 22 uncontested seconds, and they're still getting a lot more at this P1
Hope you're
HP.
doing well.
You see Boston Academy, their game plan is we cannot try to overextend through that warehouse side. We have to try to flip the spawns, and they did just enough with the positionings to do that, trying to chain it down to over towards P2.
Yeah, this could get dangerous and very deadly very quickly. Boston only tallying 3 kills to this point. And the rotation, like you mentioned, not just underway, it's with some force. Yeez, no surprise deceptions. That's enough to get Boston into the hard point. Welly playing around the backside at the silos is kind of caught between really 2 different pieces of this Boston setup. And I don't even know if Boston have fully read this. Now Welly will make his presence known, finding a kill deep. The pinch could potentially be into the hard point. Cammy's trying to find every single doorway at the same time. But off spawn, Boston have picked up a lot of this, leaving Space Fish Taco outside.
And here comes Welly, though. He's actually going to hit that timing on the flank. Only is able to take down 1. The rest of Boston Academy, though, still spawning up close, so they're going to be able to reinforce with ease. As there's only 25 seconds left on this P2, you see what Space Fish Taco are trying to do. Create those
Watching
layers
this
early
grand
on
finals
at
of the
P2,
Challengers
make it easier to
bracket.
get some uncontested time at the next hill. But here comes Shawnee getting activated. He finds a double. Fortunately, he does get traded, but all this time to Boston Academy.
Yeah, great start from Shawnee, just getting active, finding good participation in the kill feed, and also allowing a little bit of extra space, a little bit of cushion here for Boston to essentially double up on the points here of Space Fish Taco. Rotating over towards New. Welly will be left behind just to play off a bit of a pinch, and that kind of surprises Boston for a moment. Cammy deals with the threat swiftly, and from the front, he's able to find 1. That'll open up some space as that block spawns. It does. Hardpoint now changes hands. Boston in a mixed position to just find these kills and possibly win out in a major rotation.
And sometimes creating those layers can work out to your perfection, but sometimes not good enough because those spawns do not come in for Space Fish Taco. It's an easy break coming in for Boston Academy, and with 30 seconds remaining on this P3, you love all of this time. Now you just have to figure out a way on out, and it might be right through the tunnel. As Pentagram does find a trade, the rest of Space Fish Taco, though, still trying to create those layers, applying that pressure towards the old hill so they can have some uncontested time at the next one.
Yep.
But this time it's got to work out better. You have to make sure you're making these kills count.
Yeah, a little bit of finesse here on the exit time from Space Fish Taco. Like you mentioned, just challenge
Shots.
Boston as much as humanly possible. But Pentagram now off 3, has a dead silence, starting to move rapidly right down in towards base. Doesn't get the full regen. But yeah, stun will be mostly shrugged off, but the regen delayed even further. Well, he only able to find 1 though. Hold on a second. SFT are really not in a position to watch over Pro MR. He's gonna have to survive in the hardpoint by himself. And as he drops, Boston Academy now have a chance to break through again early into this new hardpoint.
And they already were able to flip the spawns as well. Keep in mind, you still have Yeez and Shawnee spawning behind enemy lines, so they're gonna be blessed with a free pinch if they can find the timing to take down deceptions, but he's able to turn the corner at the right time. The rest of Space Fish Taco still spawning towards the back end. Exotic gets a free pinch spawn over towards Tom. He finds 1, he finds 2, almost a 3rd, but Space Fish Taco needed a response to get back into this game, and that's exactly what they did at this P4.
Yeah.
Now it's all about the rotation at P5, and Pro MR finds himself in a crucial position towards top snow.
Great recovery moment from SFT. This will get us to essentially a level game. Wow, clean shots from Deceptions after Shawnee had about the first half of his health already depleted. Welly on rotation. We talked about him being a walking 1.5. He's 14 and 7. Just continues to impress game after game. Damage over to the hard point. SFT trying to flood this largely from the front, but there is some support through mid. And that's where the first blood comes from. Exotic stepping into the hard point. Stunned up. Can't quite make much of it. And then for now, hard point will go neutral. It's still a 50-50 battle over the top.
Yeah, still a 50-50 battle, at least to take top control. It's Space Fish Tacos now in the hill, though. And all of Boston Academy, they're not hitting any routes. They're trying to win these gunfights straight on up, right through the front end. Yeez now takes control of top snow. You have Pentagram working through bottom comms. So they're going to have a lot of mid-map control, and Shawnee is starting to feel himself. Finds himself on 3 in a row. Even though Space Fish Tacos are spawning on the preferred side for the next couple of hills, Boston Academy doing a great job of just setting up around, putting the crossfires on, and soaking a lot of this time at P5.
Yeah, this is great scrap time for Boston Academy. SFT working on the rotation back through mid. Shawnee able to secure another elimination before falling. SFT break in for a little bit of time, and now it's just about clearing out in the middle as much as humanly possible. And as Yeez gets traded, SFT will get the rotation early towards P1. Not definitively, though. Still a chance for Cammy to play over the top. He's looking for Deceptions up high, doesn't quite see him. And now he's looking for Welly. Also, just kind of a game of Where's Waldo here as Boston start to find some kills around the hill.
And Shawnee won a 1v1 over at the warehouse as well, so you have somewhat map control. You just got to rely on your teammates to get a couple kills. Everyone falls. It's a clean 4 dead. Space Fish Tacos has them right exactly where they want them. Everyone from Boston Academy trying to break out through the warehouse side. They find the first kill, so that's potentially an opening. But here come the players to try to reinforce that stack.
Got a little bit of a battle here with Yeez, and whoa, thought for a moment the support beams were going to become a bit of a deterrent for both players, but kill gets tallied. On rotation now, Spacefish Taco have a 3v1 essentially against Pentagram, who does well, finds just a little opening, gets himself a freebie onto Exotic, and now the rest of Boston on this rotation over can support. Problem is, Shawnee just tried to find information before committing through the doorway, and that's enough for SFT to win the majority of eliminations inside the hill. But here comes Pentagram back into the mix again, traded at long range, and that's enough for SFT to win the spawns and the initial time.
Yeah, finally they were able to locate where Pentagram was, because I thought he was going to try to be the playmaker for Boston Academy. Just simply staying alive and towards the back end. The rest of his teammates cannot find any kills, and it continues to be like that. As that is now a 12-team streak for Spacefish Tacos, getting super aggressive up the map, and that might cost them because the spawn's now flipped. Boston Academy have an opportunity to break. They find the kills through middle map. Final 30 potentially going to be theirs.
Yeah, really good back and forth game here. It really just feels like whoever can start to set up their holds and successfully keep them may win this game, because this has been a game of breaks so far, really, from both sides' perspectives. Welly, still 2.0 KD. He just continues to absolutely put together some blinding tempo and some blinding statistics. But all that told, Boston Academy worked their way right back in again. Very 50-50 game of tug of war thus far as you rotate over to a very hotly contested point early here at 4-3.
And now you already have Yeez in towards the top snow area. Shawnee working around the deep pitch, potentially trying to spawn a couple players out if his teammates can find a couple kills through the front end. But Sam Welly starts it off with the first. Yeez finds a trade through warehouse, so not any time getting soaked up by either squad. They're more focused on just maintaining these spawns, get a little bit of assistance on the right side, and now all of Spacefish Tacos spawn in through the back end. This should be their hill if they find a trade on a Pentagram, but again, he's making plays happen as the individual.
He's been that way all season long, and wow, what a critical moment that is for Pentagram. Through tunnel, up and over the boxes for 2. That swings what is essentially net 40. They stop Spacefish Taco from locking in the scrap, and they earn it in their own right. So once again, we find ourselves in what is essentially a dead tie game. Cammy already stretching towards rotation, 3 in a row. Deception's bold challenge, and he puts down the rest of the streak. So Spacefish Taco will earn rights towards the opening time here over towards the sub.
Yeah, they're going to win the rotation, but they're leaving a lot of ground open. Boston Academy have the free will to just simply push down the middle of the map. If you find this going to Deceptions, that also allows you to open up that left lane. It was a water route coming in from Pentagram. He makes another individual play. And just him finding one and getting that trade. You spawn that player out. If your teammates can win these next couple of fights, the break is instantly going to be in. Spacefish Taco is just way too tight on that setup. Yeah,
Pentagram also very aware that there could be a pinch play with a spawn out. And he's committed to this. He knows for sure that this is going to be the case. Overwhelmed, though. Here comes SFT. A chance to kind of 2-2 split hit this with the staggered spawns, and that will work out. Just too much for Boston Academy to have to respond to. And with 20 seconds of the battle, Boston actually looked like they want to try to re-hit this one more time, and why not? With Shawnee now on 3 in a row, Pentagram following up. This has been another nice moment from Boston for the front.
And they're already trying to contest over towards the next hill as well. You see Cammy off the spawn. He's able to rotate his way out towards the propane tanks. Just taking more ground. Building another layer for his teammates to have a freebie time at this P5 HP. As it's basically a tie game, he's going to catch the one free kill onto Exotic. But you still know Spacefish Taco are spawning on this side of the map. How long can they hold them on this setup?
Good challenge from Cammy. Back over through silos. That just forces the hand of SFT to have to hit this through the middle of the map. Not where you want to be trying to approach this hardpoint from. Or do you? 2 for 2 goes the exchange. Hardpoint opens up neutral. He's not really able to fully commit to getting inside, but eventually just sacrifices his life. And he takes care of Welly. What a massive kill. Exotic though off the backside. Traded by Shawnee. Back and forth again. Pinstripe kill feed. Blue, green, blue, green. Who can get into the hardpoint? Still contested. Cammy over the top still finds a way to get a kill. And Boston not fully set up, but keeping themselves involved for the scrap 15.
Yeah, they're walking away with a majority of this time. Great finesse out of Yeez to win that one-on-one, to walk away with the final 10. And now if you're Boston Academy, you just got to win these next set of fights. You already have a lot of water streak control. You potentially start soaking this P1 time as well. But these next wave of kills, if they go to Boston Academy, you're going to be able to flip those spawns out. And that could cause mayhem for Spacefish Tacos as they're trying to apply the pressure right through the middle of the map. Boston Academy, they're just soaking. Already at 2:30, 20 points until their call game.
This man's taking a little bit too long here for Spacefish Tacos. You got Boston over the top of Pentagram, just watching this rotation through mid-map. Shawnee, ooh, taken down by Deception. That may be all that SFT need to try to work their way in, but you got to find a way to challenge this. There's still so many Boston members nearby, and Cammy almost triples up. Yee's eventually taken down, so SFT will be able to neutralize the time, but Boston, with a significant leader's advantage, could just default to rotating if they want to.
Yeah, that's probably the play call that has to come in, but they can still have enough time at this P1 to win it. Shawnee flies in with the pistol, but Deceptions and Welly combined for 2. It's just Yee's left on to the point. You can no longer win it here. It's all about the rotation. This is going to be another photo finish for you. If you are Space Fish Tacos, do not get too aggressive up on the map and potentially spawn your teammates out.
Space Fish Tacos have not been able to successfully lock down more than 40 seconds straight on any hard point. They would have to change that right here, right now. Long-range shots from Pentagram. Good help from Yeez. Here comes the pinch around the back. The players inside the hard point have to go absolutely crazy. Exotic staying alive for a long time, though. How has he managed to stay alive that long? Shawnee from the front. A little bit of assistance. Exotic and Promar. Could they possibly lock this in? No, it's Cammy for the final 1v1. Pentagram shuts down the reinforcement through mid-map, and Boston Academy will get away with the map.
Oh, man, such a grueler back and forth HP between both of these teams. But Boston Academy, when we got to the second half of that game, they started to do the things that they needed to do. We're talking about the P2 where you saw all of Space Fish Tacos. They were properly set up, but they're just too far pushed out. 1 or 2 kills go down, all of Boston Academy are going to spawn right behind you for a free 35. And then they contest it all the way at P3, keep that nitty-gritty, and then even breaking in towards the P4 from the front end. That was a great job. Every single time Space Fish Taco rotated, those hills were always scrappy because Boston Academy were contesting from the front or hitting the proper routes to staying alive. I just think if you are Space Fish Tacos, you were tight on a lot of those setups. And in that final moment, I think it just simply came down to Welly. He was the guy that was sitting towards top snow. He was the guy that was trying to cut off every single angle through middle and through the right side of warehouse. But one player is able to slip on by. Eventually, Sam Welly falls. The rest of his teammates fall like dominoes. And it's Boston Academy who take map number 1. This is a great performance overall from everyone. Clutch plays from Pentagram, though. Every single time, Alan, he was always the playmaker. 2-piece here, 2-piece there, staying alive in certain positions. That's how you play winning Call of Duty.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And it's one of those situations that, and you kind of saw it on the scoreboard there at the end, the stats screen. Really, I don't even know if anyone goes positive KD. It's just a simple fact that you're getting into the mix and you're finding these battles, and some of the wins that come through are not going to be fully reflected on the stat screen. And for Pentagram in particular, like you mentioned, it was not once, not twice, maybe 3 or 4 times that we saw him kind of the last guy standing, turning his life into 2, sometimes 3. It's just unbelievably clutch in a couple of really, really tight moments. And obviously you can see the same thing for Cammy right there near the end on that rotation back over towards P2 as well. So yeah, great stuff individually, but I would say more so collectively, Boston Academy finding break after break in what was a very, very tight game from start to finish.
Yeah, that was teamwork on full display. Now you're up 1-0 into the series. You're going into an invasive search to destroy where you were up 3-0 versus the team on this map yesterday. And in a couple rounds, it started to get away from you. You lost 6-4, but you right the wrongs today versus Convoy Gaming. If you are Boston Academy, to just simply not do too much. We got the job done by simply doing what we need to do. Pentagram holding down mid-tank. Yee's causing mayhem either through DVD or broken side. Shawnee consistently holding down that water street. And they were just playing strong on their team fires and their crossfires. So I think that's something that you have to make sure you're staying on top of your Boston Academy. It's great to stay on map number 1, but if you want to win this whole series, S&D is a crucial part because you got 3 in the best of 7.
Absolutely. Now, again, this is a rematch from not just both of these two teams. We do have a couple of recurring maps from the last time they had played. In particular, these next 2 maps, Invasion Search, Invasion Control. Last we were here, we talked about it kind of in pieces when we were watching Boston play Convoy on this map in map number 2. Yeez was getting caught out. Maybe not necessarily killed, but his ability to be kind of a sneaky little spy defensively for Boston was not prevalent yesterday. And SFT took advantage of that, winning this map 6-4. But, and it is a big but, and I cannot lie, last time we saw these guys play, we did see Yeez staying a little bit more incognito, not quite getting all the way forward, and Convoy were not able to read what the Boston defensive setup was. That is going to be something that I really want to keep an eye on as we jump into this map number 2 here.
And for Spacious Tacos, one thing that they did great on Invasion yesterday was simply not really isolating Yeez. They were keeping track of him, but they were more focused on just keeping him at bay and then soloing out Pentagram, because that guy's always playing around Cafe. You win that one-on-one versus Pentagram, you're going to be able to work that bomb plant for free. So you got one guy staying still, the other guy thinking that all the action's on the opposing side, and then you just completely get caught off guard. So I think if you're Boston Academy, it's fresh in your mind. We just played this team yesterday. We know the reason why we lost. We cannot allow that to happen again today.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate it and really beat the dead horse here, that adjustment period from last night to today has already been very, very, very heavily noted. So I think the question mark here for SFT, having a chance to watch Boston play that last series, do you change your playbook a little bit just to make sure that, okay, if Yeez is going to play up forward, we need to kind of make our focus happen, maybe even more so towards B. You know, that was kind of the one thing we really saw Boston in the past. When Yeez gets forward, it just takes away the option of playing towards B more often than not. But if you're Convoy, or pardon me, if you're SFT and you saw how the series went versus Convoy, where they only had one player defending B, one maybe watching the mid cross through dark, that becomes maybe an opportunity for you to actually hit early and aggressively. So again, it'll be curious to see what the mind games are going to look like right off the get-go when we load in.
Yeah, and I feel like Invasion S&D has just started to level up as the years has gone on, because we're seeing originally a 2-2 split. All right, one player going to be being aggressive in towards Cafe, one watching over the Water Street, but then two towards B. Now it's all about controlling that mid-tank area. You're probably just calling out the cross towards the left side at B site and holding that right street, but it's all about the action at mid-tank. You got to invest your smokes, hit your tax, because that's what's going to be able to open up the map. Whoever has better tack usage is probably going to walk away with this W.
I 100% agree with you. Wow. Okay, so now all we're waiting on is the freaking game to start. Get me in. I'm amped up. I'm jazzed up. I'm ready to go. I'm sure all of you guys at home are in the same boat. The other thing that's really interesting about this, as we kind of just have a moment, Invasion Control, I mean, that's also going to be a map that will kind of live in SFT's minds just a touch, because it was a very quick 3-0 from yesterday. And then we've got a real hard point, which we haven't seen a lot of real hard point really since group stage. And for Boston, it's been kind of a playground for them. They've looked really, really good there. So there are opportunities for Boston to not just correct on their mistakes from last night, but also potentially find some favor built into the series set. So lots of interesting things with that map number 1 going the way of Boston now all of a sudden at the precipice of this best of 7 series. But we're ready to go. Search and destroy. Invasion. It's going to be SFT on the offense first, and we'll see very quickly, is Boston going to try to play Yeez forward, or will SFT maybe have an opportunity to work over towards this B site?
Yeah, they're already changing it up. Yeez going to be playing towards the middle of the map with Pentagram by his side, but Cammy tries to get aggressive up through Broken. And Sam Welly makes him pay for it. So now instantly in the 4v3, you eliminate one player on that B side. There could potentially only be one more, but Sam Welly's taking a lot of ground right through the middle of the tank. He's able to find a second.
This is legitimately, if they're saying, okay, Yeez is going to play over towards the street, I'll take it from you. I'll absolutely take it from you. It's a free gift. Christmas come early. Shawnee on the cross. Smoke. Ooh, almost. Gives them enough separation to find the kill and get away, but as it dissipates, SFT, of course, use their numbers successfully. And that was a little bit too easy for Sam Welly.
Yeah, the cojones on a Sam Welly. Like, we're talking about instantly pushing into Broken, winning that one-on-one, but then no hesitation to just instantly push through dark and play for that kill through mid-tank. He was almost going to find the third, but gets a little bit of assistance from his teammates. But that's an individual player making an individual play for his teammates to find success. As Spacious Taco walk away with the early attack. And now you're going into a defense where you definitely prefer that side of the map on the map like Invasion.
Absolutely. And now for Boston Academy, their offense largely categorized by the success they can find through mid-map. Deceptions right on top of A. Exotic playing deep towards the bridge. Welly right on top of the tank. So it's a very standard setup here for SFT. And, well, Yeez, he may think about trying to get a little bit aggressive here towards this B street. Again, talk about SFT learning things about Boston. Yeez should know that SFT do not like to play aggressively here at B street. And he may be able to take advantage of that as well from the offensive side. Yeah,
they love to watch the cross through the back end, and Sam Willie loves to play that mid-tank. So it's already been 40 seconds knocked off of the game clock. You have Pentagram trying to work his way up through Cafe. He's going to break the door, force Deception to turn around, but he does have some cover fire. He's just going to play the 50-50 of them attacking up to the street.
This is a bold call for Boston. I mean, you got Pentagram with what looks to be an MCW in hand. Here's the check from Shawnee on the outside. Deception reads it. Can't quite fully get away. Nice pinch play from Yeez. And all of a sudden, the middle of the map is gone chaotically in favor of Boston Academy. Yeez does get traded, but the bomb is planted, and Pentagram gets a safe exit, or does he? Yes, he does.
Oh, and Cammy wins the one-on-one across the map as well onto Pro MR. So now it's Exotic left in the 1v2.
Clean.
Information now gained onto Cammy. You turn it into a 1v1 versus the bomb planter. He has to be close, but the repositioning out of Pentagram to wrap up through the street side, come back through court, just catching Exotic off guard. As Boston Academy waits till the final moment, even with Shawnee getting first blooded, is Pentagram instantly there for the response. He stays alive long enough for Yeez to hit through dark. Saul comes down to that mid tank. When do they decide to attack it? And this time it's Boston Academy coming out on top.
Yeah, and I love that call. It really is. Both teams doing their homework, learning their lessons from yesterday. Welly kind of hits the same route from the first offense, and now all of a sudden Yeez does it. It's like, hey, you're going to give me space towards arches on this B street. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Perfect timing for Boston. 1-1 the count. Welly, pistol out with nades going overhead. He hasn't seen anyone across yet. There's the info onto Cammy. And that's huge. I mean, you, again, know that Yeez is not playing through this B street. Expect to see Welly try to force this 1v1.
He knows that Cammy is isolated, but he doesn't want to get bad timing. He knows that Yeez has to be close. But it's still the same defensive setup for Boston Academy. This time they just have trophy systems to assist them. As Cammy's the info man. Just trying to stay behind Tractor. Throwing a couple shoulders. Puts down a couple shots. 20 HP left on Welly. He's able to stay alive, though.
I'll be curious to see if SFT have got to read that Yeez is playing on this mid-tank. Ban shots from Pentagram. Not to be weary of how much he sends out. Gets the reload up. But here comes Welly and Pro Mar over towards the C street. They're trying to isolate onto Cammy. They do find the elimination. And now Yeez caught it. I'm telling you, they have read this perfectly. Problem is, Bomb's not here all of a sudden. Oh, the timing at mid-map is just so awkward. I mean, they're literally in lockstep, moving over towards dark, but eventually SFT find the kill, and Boston Academy will falter again defensively.
Yeah, that just came down to Cammy trying to do too much at that B site. Like, if you just simply stay behind Tractors, stop going back and forth between cages. I know you're trying to dodge stage, you're trying to dodge stuns, but once they spot you rotating back, that's when you get some really bad COD timing there, and he's the first one to drop. You have Yeez off the rotation trying to assist him, but Space Fist Tacos were ready for him to try to rotate through dark. They find the second kill and then leave Pentagram left in a 1v3. It's not easy to clutch on up as this has been, what, all attacking rounds so far on a map like Invasion?
Yeah.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And it's going to have to be, someone's going to have to make a defensive adjustment. And right now, it may be SFT early. A little double stack frontside cafe, and it is Exotic for first blood. Deceptions was watching his front cross. They get the kill, they get out, and then long range shots. Wow. I mean, you think, well, he's feeling himself? He just pushes through B Tom, gets to front DVD, finds another kill, and Boston are now in a 2v3 without the bomb.
But at least you get some info. One player towards the middle of the tank. But like you said, that bomb is all the way across the map, so you have to figure out how you're going to play this round. You have Yeez wrapping back over towards Mannequin to pick up the bomb. You still have Cammy holding down that B street, gaining more info on to at least another player. So that's two players now known in their positionings. But we got to pick up this bomb. Yeah, we got 35 seconds left. We got to start thinking about that objective.
Well, Yeez is going to have to get to work, not just collecting the bomb, but also clearing out this space. Deceptions is playing one-for-one corner. What a prediction from Cammy. Slides out Renetti in hand and obliterates Deceptions. Bomb can now be planted.
I need to get my glasses fixed.
And you're going to have an even 2v2 on this post plant. They know Cammy's still playing over towards tank. Both members for SFT defensively have read that. Yeez also seen at range, slips away, if only just barely. But now it's down to dealing with Cammy on the cross. And the first shots are perfect. Yeez trying to get isolated. Exotic not able to track him down. MCW up. Trying to find Cammy as well. He knows he's probably still sitting here in this corner. Pistol out. Here comes the challenge, and Cammy smokes him. Oh my goodness.
He just did it all right there, Alan.
Yes, sir.
We're talking about a 3v2. Only 25 to 30 seconds left. That bomb was all the way across the map, and somehow, some way, Space Fist Taco allow a free one-on-one gunfight through the middle of the map, the bomb to go down uncontested, and with just too late on the retake. Perfect plays coming out of the can man to find 3 on the round. Gets it done for Boston Academy in the man disadvantage on another attacking side. That's now 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And I think if you are Boston Academy, instantly making the adjustment. This time we're sending Yeez back over to Broken.
But Welly's got the stuns out early. He's seen this. Yeez gets stunned. Welly, I'm sure, saw it because he's already backed off to try to help over towards mid-map. And SFT also get the read on where Shawnee's positioned. I'd expect this to be a really quick hit in towards A, which once again puts a lot of pressure on the Pentagram, and this time he's not able to respond with the first clean shots from Pro MR. And now Yeez wrapping back in, trying to isolate, but he's been caught. And that'll be enough likely for the round as Shawnee's in a 1v4.
And that round simply just comes down to Welly gaining the info that Yeez slides over to Broken. Now it's Pentagram soloed out towards the middle of the tank. Unfortunately, gets some bad COD timing. Could have potentially found one before he falls, but once he drops, solid trade effect at that point. Great shots from Pro MR to knock, I don't know if it was Shawnee towards the backside of the wall, but he ripped him off of that backside palace. Put them instantly in the 4v2. You get the bomb down, you make it happen. That's a GG. All attacking rounds again so far on this invasion. This is jaw-dropping because this does not happen.
And remember that round. Boston's the first one to make a defensive adjustment, and it goes completely wrong. Like, that can really live in your head if you're Boston trying to set up your next defense, but we'll put a pause to that in a moment. As Welly, first blood again. I mean, this guy's just doing it all. Yeez gets towards mid-tank, but he's been red, and he's just hoping he finds good timing. Doesn't like the look of it, obviously, and I will say, pretty lucky to get out of there and hold his life.
He's just trying to finesse, dance around a little bit longer, able to catch the timing onto Welly. Evens up the numbers at a 3v3. Now, keep in mind, Cammy's still slowly working his way up through B Street. If you can get info on where Pro MR is playing this from towards the back wall, you can call the rotation in immediately. Because there's not going to be a lot of attacks. The shots are better, though. As Cammy's able to take down Pro MR, making it 3v2. It's still a 1-on-1 on the opposing side. Deceptions evens it up 2v2 now with 35 seconds.
And that's your bomb carrier down if you're Boston. They have not seen Exotic yet, but he's got to worry about a lot. Deception's coming back over towards mid-map, keeps his cut safe. But Exotic has not seen Cammy cross yet, but they may have read this in a pretty perfect timing because they go to clear out B. There's no one here. Time is against them a little bit, but the thing is, you know this is going to be an A hit, so they can re-wrap this back through mid. Cammy's been seen on the long cross back on the defensive spawn, and we get to the 2v2. Quickly moving his Deceptions. Already cleared out the bomb. I mean, you have to know that this is going to be something over towards the fire truck, Cammy. Oh, perfect for the first. Pistol out. Deep down for Exotic. 1v1 with Yeez. And he's been able to catch the timing over towards street side. Boston Academy pullback after the first blood goes against him.
Oh, it's another attacking round. And if you're Space with Stocko, you want that one back. Willie gets the first one through the middle of the tank, but then he tries to go Superman. Tries to fly right up the middle, thinking he catches the timing on Yeez, but Yeez is able to even up the numbers. And then at that point, even in the 2v3, they were still slowly working their way around the map. As Cammy again wins that 1-on-1 through B Street, rotates all the way out, you get the bomb down. You turn it into a 1v1, and Yeez is able to capitalize on it. All tied up at 3 again, and I think the defensive setup adjustment that has to come in for Boston Academy is have Cammy watch over mid-tank and try to get Yeez over towards Broken, because you can't keep isolating Pentagram through middle.
Yeah, no, I like that call a lot. But this time, Yeez and Pentagram will be essentially side by side, assuming both have MCWs in these positions. Cammy just isolated over towards Tractor. Shawnee, the same can be said with him over towards Water Bridge. But sneaks a little bit further forward. He can assist on this cross. And actually, Pentagram's got the rival 9 out. Just watching this freezer door. But no motion yet. And SFT, I think they, again, know that Yeez is not playing inside of Broken, and they're going to take that space. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and this time it's Cammy, though, not moving from the backside of Tractor. He knows that this is where the pressure's coming in. Smoke goes over the top. He still has the line of sight towards the point, and he sets up his teammate in Yeez to find the timing. Unfortunately, he stopped shooting, so he's not able to finish that kill, but it's still Boston Academy in the man advantage.
Yeah, and well, he could get isolated here, depending on the timing, and yeah, Pentagram will find him up top, no worries. Deceptions by himself. Is this the first defensive round to get tallied? Sure feels that way. Clean shots over towards one, but no, Shawnee from behind also pitches it up. Nades were on the way in, and Boston Academy tested over towards B, but provide the response.
And you could just tell that that smoke grenade caused some issues right there for Space Fish Tacos. They did not want it to land on top of the Tractor. And that still gives Cammy a line of sight to get a couple players weak. You set up Yeez through mid-dark to at least start the engagements. As Cammy finds one, Yeez finds the second, and then you set up Pentagram to go on that deep pitch to find Willie for free. As Boston Academy secure the first defense of the entire map, which is insane to me. But back to their go back on the attacking side now. And if you are Space Fish Taco, you have to now make a couple adjustments on your defense.
Absolutely. That's from Pro Amar's hands. Do tag over towards front side DVD. Deceptions over the top at A. Welly playing a much more passive angle this time. Over through mid-tank. Follow-up nades at mid. Not going to provide too much. And actually, Pro Amar, he got pretty frisky through B Street while all this is happening. Steps up. Doesn't read much. Backs away. We stay in the same situation for before.
Just trying to bait him out. Here comes the smoke grenade getting invested to keep Deceptions looking at this right side of the map. But Pentagram and Cammy just watching over mid-court. Seeing if Welly is going to give up his positioning through mid-tank. But he has not budged yet. Still 40 seconds remaining.
This is a lot of trust that whoever comes through Boston at mid is going to try to run through the backside of tank here. Because otherwise, Deception is wide open through the back. And here comes Yeez on the first play. How does this get time? Trophy system down. Deception thought about shooting at it, but instead waits, holds, lots of damage, but no kills. And now all of a sudden, this is wide open for Boston. Bomb being planted here at A. Welly on the pinch. They have an opportunity. Gets the first on the Cammy, but immediately traded out just down to Pro Amar. Tough 1v2, and Shawnee catches them over through the street side.
That's just perfect teamwork from Boston Academy.
Yeah.
They have thrown the same thing on every single attacking round. Open that door, get your trophy down, double sliding out to bait and switch onto Deceptions. Once you find that first kill, Shawnee finds a second and eventually finds a third for the final kill cam. It's just easy when you open up with that first kill on the A site, because now you have the positionings, you have mid-tank, you have all of A bomb control, so it's only a matter of moment before they decide to get that bomb plant down, and it works out to perfection as Boston Academy now find themselves at gate point.
This is massive. Shawnee also on 5. You've got some cushion here. If he gets a 6th, plenty of times and opportunity to use a cruise missile. You can use this to get out a jail-free card or potentially a map-winning resource. Yeez tries to get aggressive through Cafe. Shut down. Good response from Deceptions. Versus stay 4v4 early.
I love how Pentagram tried to get a little bit aggressive in towards Cafe.
Yeah.
It forces Space Fist Tacos to play a little bit slower on this side of the map. You still have Welly trying to isolate Cammy. The rest of Space Fist Taco trying to read the setup of Boston Academy. He has yet to change, so you should know exactly what's going on. They're trying to isolate Shawnee, but he's on a 5 streak. If he can earn a cruise missile, that's GG.
Yeah, absolutely. Thing is, they get a read onto Shawnee, and I think they will also know there's 2 rival 9s here at the front doors. So they're trying to work angles, but Pentagram just slides in, and he gets more. Oh! Holy smokes! What a play from Pentagram. Traded back at least marginally from Deceptions. 2v3, but Pentagram's not done. He's on 3 for the round. 1v1 for potentially everything here as Welly. Opens up space towards B. Does he get the prediction on the Pentagram? No overchal. It's Shawnee at range. Now Pentagram goes and knocks a full ace for Nate as Boston go up 2-0 early in the series.
The playmaker makes a play when it matters the most. He said, game, set, match. We are closing this one out here. I'm sick and tired of getting first-blooded at this A-bomb site. I'm going to change it up. Finds the first kill and then makes the individual Superman play right up through the middle courtyard to find that second kill. Insane plays from Pentagram in that final round, but Boston Academy, they made the adjustments on the defensive end. They are the only team to win a defensive round on a map like Invasion. You cannot use that as a recipe for success if you're trying to win Invasion Search and Destroy, if you're not winning your defenses. But now Boston Academy find themselves up 2-0 in the series. And if anything's going to tell us what yesterday was like, they got an Invasion control where Deceptions had 4 kills and they beat them so fast we didn't even get a chance to even look at it. So Boston Academy, they are filling themselves to potentially close out this series here pretty soon.
And it's just one of those things, coming out of the lower bracket, you often expect that team to kind of struggle early in a best of 7 because of the veto advantage that you get out of a winner's bracket team. But now that you're 2-0 up, this series only gets better for you the longer it goes. Flat out, even if SFT were to find a way to pull things back here in the Invasion control, you still have a Rio hardpoint, and you still have the potential of a Map 7 Rio search, which Boston is going to love to see, especially based on how they've played it, not just total this season, but in particular today.
And I don't even think Boston Academy are thinking about a Map 7.
No,
just the
they're
way
thinking
that they're
about 4.
playing right now. They're thinking about a clean 4-0. We're trying to reign our terror as being the best team in this elite. The only match that they lost was to Space Fist Tacos, but now they are righting the wrongs for that series. Great in map number 1. Icy in the game 2 Search and Destroy. And now you got Invasion Control coming up next where the ARs are starting to fill themselves. We're watching Pentagram pull out an MCW. Yeez at moments pull out an MCW. Everything is going right now for Boston Academy.
And looking back on it, not only was there a 3-0 for Boston on this Invasion Control, but if you were to go all the way back to the last time you watched them play this on broadcast, if I'm not mistaken, that was back when they played Diverse, and it was also a 3-0 there. So they love this map, and it is their control pick for what it's worth as well. Keep in mind that the only veto that comes through forces the hand of the other two maps because of, again, that winner's bracket advantage in a best of 7. So, wow, exciting things here if you're a Boston fan. Otherwise, if you're an SFT fan, you're sweating a little bit in that little taco tortilla that you've got going around. Again, I don't know. That looks like it's a space fish made into tacos, not necessarily a fish taco that you have in space. But regardless, Control is not watchable for us here in the Codcasters. So we'll send things to a break, hopefully have a player POV to tune into what's happening, and we'll be back at the end of it. Don't go far.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope you're having a wonderful night.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to the NASCAR Thunder 2000 career. If you've missed anything, This is going to replace what we were just doing, which was NASCAR Thunder 2003. We done that before on the channel. I was giving it.
If you told me
from a machine that abruptly
Man,
Can I have you write your name really quickly?
That's a shocking. Where in New York are you? Long Island.
Stop. I was like, something. I was like, yeah.
No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal of their life.
Today, I'm going to share the story behind one of the creepiest videos on the internet. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 2 or 3 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please go to the like button's house, and as soon as the like button sits down to watch their favorite TV show, start violently vacuuming right in front of the TV. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story. In the summer of 2013, a middle-aged man named Frank pulled into a tiny town in Nevada called Kingston. Kingston, which is home to less than 100 people year-round, is so small and desolate and cut off from the rest of the state and really the rest of the country that they don't even have stoplights. It's basically just a collection of a handful of buildings like a laundromat and a saloon that are surrounded on one side by this huge mountain range and on the other just open desert. At the time, there were really only 2 reasons you would find yourself in Kingston, Nevada. One, if you lived there or were visiting someone that lived there, or 2, if you were going to visit the abandoned mines up in the mountain that are right near Kingston. Frank was in Kingston for the latter. For the last 5 years, Frank had been traveling all over Nevada and California and just the West Coast in general, exploring abandoned mines. And he would film himself while he was in there, and then when he got back to his house, he would upload the footage to his YouTube channel. When he arrived in Kingston, Frank had already uploaded 302 videos to his channel. But despite the very high number of videos on his channel was still very, very small, and it wasn't growing really at all. So for him to be dedicating that much time and energy into making these videos indicated that he wasn't really doing it for YouTube fame. He was doing it because he had a passion for exploring these mines, and he wanted to share it with the few people that subscribed to his channel. And when you look through the first 302 videos on his channel, that passion of his really comes through. He always knows the history of the mine he's about to go into, and when he goes inside, if he finds machinery or pieces of equipment that have been left behind, he immediately knows what they are, and he speaks about them with relative sophistication. He has this lingo that that sounds like he understands mines on a really granular level. So when Frank arrived in Kingston in 2013, as far as we know, the only reason he was there was just to do what he always did, which is go explore a couple of cool mines, film it, and then put it on his channel. Except this time, Frank's adventure into these mines right outside of Kingston would be cut short by something he just could not explain. However, he captured it on film, and it's terrifying. The two mines that Frank was intending to visit were the Victorine mine and the Horton mine. The Horton mine was constructed first in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and when they built it, they expected it to be a gold mine, but there was no gold inside. So they constructed another mine about 900 feet above where the entrance to the Horton mine was. They built this other mine, and inside of that mine, there was gold. This second mine they built was called the Victorine mine. When they built the Victorine mine, they bored this massive hole right outside the entrance to the Victorine mine that went straight down 900 feet directly into the mountain, and this big hole they drilled went right into the Horton mine. This was on purpose. They were basically building the equivalent of a laundry chute, except instead of tossing laundry down it, they would toss the ore they drilled from inside the Victorine mine. They would drop it down the chute, it would fall 900 feet all the way to the Horton mine, and that would save them from needing to carry all of this ore all the way down the mountain. Basically, it was a shortcut for the ore. And in the Horton mine, they built this huge conveyor belt system so that anything that came off of the chute would land at the beginning of this conveyor belt, and it would get brought all the way outside of the mine where workers could process it and bring it to town. Finally, in 1989, the Victorine mine ran out of gold, so they permanently shut down that mine as well as the Horton mine. These two mines were located about 4 miles to the west of Kingston's town center, and so when Frank pulled into town, he moved to the western side of town and then found the access road that would bring him out to these mines. And so he just drove on this road that basically shot straight towards this huge mountain range, and after traveling about 4 miles, he reached this very sharp right turn that basically went straight up a mountain. And at this point, there's no more pavement on the road. It's a very narrow trail. It's hard to see. And so Frank would have parked his car, grabbed his camera and his equipment, and begun walking up this mountain. After quite a while, Frank would have passed a couple of run-down old cabins that were kind of overgrown. These cabins were used when these mines were in operation. They helped service the workers while they were out there. But since the mines were abandoned, so too were the cabins. And so when Frank got to these cabins, that would have meant he was very close to the entrance to both of these mines. Frank first went to the Victorine mine, which would have been very easy to spot because right outside of its small entrance was this huge piece of what looked like scaffolding, and that was actually the opening to this huge chute that shot down 900 feet to the Horton mine below. So Frank goes to the Victorine mine and he has a look around, but either Frank didn't film his time inside of the Victorine mine or he just didn't upload it because there's no video of him actually going into the Victorine mine. His camera is turned on this particular day when he's left the Victorine mine and he's walked all the way down to the entrance of the Horton mine. And so we see this video, it opens up with the camera pointing at the entrance to the Horton mine. And the entrance to the Horton mine is very bizarre looking. The entrance, which is 20 feet tall, has all these long strips of metal plating that have been kind of anchored up all around the entrance to prevent the entrance from caving in on itself. But despite whatever functional value these copper plates might have had, the aesthetic result is very creepy and makes you not want to go in the entrance. Also, because this mine has been shut down, there's a big gate right in front of this already very foreboding entrance that warns people to not go inside. But Frank seems totally unaffected by this and just strolls right up to the entrance of Horton Mine, and he kind of talks about its history, and then he calmly steps over this warning gate telling people to stay back, and he begins walking into this mine. Right away, Frank notices there's quite a bit of water on the ground, and that's cause for concern.
Okay, we can go in here and just take a quick look. I don't think I'm going to explore this particular mine. There's a little bit too much water in here, and I know this mine is really old, but I just don't think it's wise to go in here when there's water. Try to avoid this if I can.
Frank's not concerned that there is water. It's that the water might be stagnant water. In these abandoned mines, there can be poisonous gases that accumulate, and when there is stagnant water, those gases get absorbed into the stagnant water. And so if Frank were to step into one of those puddles of water, he would release those gases from the water, the so-called bad air, and that can actually be deadly. But as Frank is standing there wondering if he should proceed, he looks down off to the left side, right inside the entranceway, and he notices there's some footprints. So somebody must have come in here recently, and so Frank decides, you know what, I'll go a little bit further in, I'll just be really careful of the water. Frank makes it about 10 feet inside of the entranceway when he lifts his camera up and he looks straight down into the mine, and you get your first look at really what the inside of this mine looks like. And right away you notice there's this yellow kind of collapsed looking tubing that's hanging down from the ceiling, and that's the old air filtration system. And then when Frank moves maybe another 5 or 10 feet farther into the mine, you see in addition to this air filtration system, there's also all these metal chains that are just kind of dangling from the ceiling, and they're all over the place. And both the tubing and the chains seem to extend all the way into the tunnel out of view. Those chains were previously used to hold up the conveyor belt that stretched the entire distance of this mine, which is 600 feet long. They held that conveyor belt up, which carried all of the ore from the chute out of the mine. Even though Frank has seen similar setups in other mines he's been into, he would say on camera that there's just something really off about this mine, that it was really sketching him out, and he wasn't really sure if he should keep going.
Yeah, this looks pretty sketchy. I'll go a few feet further in and check it out, but I think I'm going to pass on this one.
He would later reflect on that feeling he had inside of the mine, and he would say, you know, it felt like there was somebody else in that mine watching him. It was just very, very uncomfortable. And so as Frank is debating whether or not he should continue, just based on this kind of bad vibe he was getting, he looks down and notices there's actually running water now. Before at the entrance it was stagnant, but now he can see the water inside of this mine. It's not stagnant, it's running, and so the risk of breathing in any bad air is pretty much gone, meaning this mine is relatively safe. But despite this supposedly positive development for someone who wanted to explore a mine, Frank is still not sure if he should continue.
This is one of the creepiest mine tunnels I've ever been in, just because of how dilapidated it is, and all these chains hanging down from the overhead, and there's a shot looking down the tunnel even further of it.
But despite his apprehension, Frank ultimately decides, you know what, he'd come this far, I'll just go a little bit farther. And so Frank makes it to about 100 feet into this mine when he turns around and he films the opening, the entrance to the mine, which is all lit up with sunlight. And he films it kind of to give the audience a sense of just how far he had come into the mine. And so then, after filming the entrance, he turns the camera and he films back down towards the back of the mine, towards the actual end of the mine. Now, at first, you don't see anything unusual. You just see the chains, and it looks kind of like it had for the first couple of minutes of this video. But then, Frank pulls his flashlight out and he shines it down the hall.
Looking down the tunnel here. I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
As we saw, Frank's initial reaction to this swinging chain is speechlessness, and then just sort of this weird statement of fact that he's like, I don't know how that chain is swinging. And then after staring at this chain and even zooming in on it, trying to kind of figure out what he's looking at, Frank eventually would just turn off his camera, turn around, and leave very quickly. And when he got back to his house, he uploaded this video to his channel with virtually no context. He just said, you know, this is what I saw inside of the Horton mine, and nothing happened. It didn't go viral. It isn't like everybody went crazy when they saw this footage. Instead, I think his audience, they saw this video and didn't really know what to make of it, and then very quickly, his audience and Frank just kind of forgot about it. And Frank got back into making his own traditional videos. Then, about a year later, the YouTube algorithm kind of noticed this Horton mine footage that he had uploaded back in 2013, and it went crazy viral. And immediately, this video was put under the microscope by YouTube personalities, by TV personalities. I mean, everybody was just kind of taken aback by this footage. And what was determined fairly early on was the actual video itself was authentic. Frank really did film a swinging chain in the Horton mine in Nevada. The question became, who swung the chain? There are many people that believe Frank swung the chain and this is all just one big hoax, and they point to some of his newer videos after this video went viral where it appears that Frank is kind of actively going out to find paranormal activity versus just going out and exploring mines. And so they point to that and say, look, he's looking for this stuff. This can't be authentic. This video has to be fake. But others say, look, Frank is just a guy who likes going into mines and he films the inside of these mines. He's been doing it for years and years, and he just happened to be in one when something unexplainable happened and he happened to catch it on film. And the only reason he began kind of actively looking for paranormal activity after it went viral is because kind of overnight his channel exploded and he suddenly had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subscribers that all came from that swinging chain video, and they all wanted the same thing: more swinging chain videos, more paranormal content. And so, seeing a great opportunity, Frank went out and began looking for paranormal content. That's why most of his videos, after that video where the swinging chain happened, are kind of geared towards fishing for that kind of stuff. But that first video, that swinging chain video, there wasn't really a good incentive for Frank to fake it at the time he uploaded it. Obviously now you can say, oh, well, you know, he staged it because he wanted it to go viral and he wanted to become famous and then have this great YouTube career. Look, it's all in front of us. It's so obvious. But how could Frank have possibly predicted that that video would go viral? Going viral is so hard and it happens so rarely, and it's nearly impossible to predict. And so how could Frank, who had uploaded hundreds and hundreds of videos before and none of them had come anywhere near virality, how could he have said, this one, this is going to go viral? It's just such a long shot. It also seems very uncharacteristic for Frank to have been diligently uploading on this YouTube channel, which was basically a passion project, for 5 years. He's uploaded 302 videos, and all of them are the same. He's posting the same type of content very consistently for the same small, loyal following, and then out of left field, he uploads his ghost video with no context. Even if he was trying to go viral with this video, he would have known that the most likely outcome would be that the video did not go viral, and instead his small, loyal following that was used to a particular type of content would see this video and be like, huh, why did he upload that? Or worse, they would think, is he faking this? Is this a hoax? And if so, that would totally tarnish his reputation and he'd lose probably some of his precious few subscribers. I mean, it just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze. But regardless, even though lots and lots of people have said, you're lying, Frank, you're lying, Frank, you're lying, Frank, he said, I'm not lying. I was in the Horton mine. I filmed what I filmed. It's up to you what you believe. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments section what it is and where you found it, so give us the timestamp. And if you're the first to do that, we'll pin you at the top of the comments section. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please go to the like button's house, and right as the like button is sitting down to watch their favorite TV show, start violently vacuuming right in front of the TV. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly 2 or 3 video uploads. We are now selling merchandise like flannels and hats and sweatshirts and mugs and all sorts of stuff. If you're interested, go to shopmrballin.com. If you want to learn about upcoming deals and promotions for our shop, go to our shop's Instagram page. The username is shopmrballin. If you want to get in touch with me, you can direct message me on Instagram or on Twitter. My username for both platforms is the same. It's johnballin416. I also have a ton of content over on TikTok where my username is Mr. Ballin. We also have a second YouTube channel called Mr. Ballin Shorts where we post random short videos and lost episodes. We also have a Facebook page just called Mr. Ballin where we post condensed versions of the long episodes you see on YouTube. If you have a story suggestion, please submit it to our subreddit just called Mr. Ballin. It's linked in the description below. So whether I see you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, or some combination, just know that I really appreciate your support, and until next time, that's going to do it. See ya.
You have to be ready. Let's fight like demons.
Most impressive.
This is only the beginning. That was insane.
Dune Part 1, now streaming on Max. And Dune Part 2, now in theaters.
Quite scandalous. Oh my god!
Yes, I will.
Everybody get
I need a fire breather.
Hot mama.
Can you knock on the table for us?
Don't believe you.
Seriously.
Seriously, don't
Seriously.
believe
Got me feeling good.
Oh, wow. You have our attention.
In 1969, an adventure magazine reporter named Milt Macklin flew to New Guinea with his film crew to shoot a documentary about a missing person who had gone missing in that area. Milt's hope was he was actually going to find this missing person and capture it on film, really pushing his documentary over the top. But despite shooting all this footage and looking all over the place, they never found the missing person. And so Milt ultimately went back home and just put all the footage in storage, never even watched it. Well, 40 years later, that footage got pulled out of storage because another crew wanted to make a documentary about this missing person, and when they watched this footage, they found something totally unbelievable on it. And so today, I'm gonna tell you the story of what they found, and then more importantly, what it revealed about this missing person. And I will say right now, it is highly disturbing. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please gift the like button the complete set of Where's Waldo books, but make sure you cut all the Waldos off of every page first. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. On the morning of Saturday, November 18th, 1961, a 23-year-old man named Michael Rockefeller reached down and grabbed the pull cord that was connected to the outboard motor that was on the boat that Michael was riding in. And Michael, he pulled and pulled on that cord, but he could not get this engine to restart. It just sputtered and wouldn't turn over. And without power, that meant that Michael and his small crew just continued to drift farther and farther out to sea. But that wasn't even the worst of this situation. The boat that Michael and his crew were on, which was a 40-foot long catamaran, it was two handcrafted canoes tied together, well, it was starting to sink. Minutes before, Michael and his crew had been happily traveling along the beautiful green jungled coast of New Guinea when they had to cross over this area where the water was particularly turbulent. There was this river in New Guinea that was feeding out to the Arafura Sea, which is where Michael and his crew were, and where this brown river met the blue water, it became very choppy with lots of rough waves. And so as Michael and his crew tried to cross that area, the waves came on board, they flooded the engine, it shut off, and then as more and more waves landed inside the boat began to sink. The reason why Michael and his crew were even out here and taking these chances to begin with is because Michael wanted to go see this tribe called the Asmats that lived in New Guinea, basically right past this area where this river was. They lived right on the coast. Michael was obsessed with the artwork that the Asmat tribe created, in particular, the very unique bis pole. These poles are created by the master carvers within the Asmat tribe. What they do is they take a single piece of wood and they etch it away until it looks like it's a bunch of men standing on each other's shoulders. Now, these bis poles are totally beautiful and intricate and wonderful to look at, but the Asmat tribe doesn't make them for art. They make them because they believe they contain the souls of the warriors from their tribe who have been killed in combat. And until the Asmats avenge these downed warriors, basically until the tribe kills their enemies, these souls remain trapped in these bis poles, which means the Asmats don't really ever get rid of these poles. They don't sell them, they don't throw them away, they are just part of their culture and society. But months ago, Michael had come and visited the Asmat tribe. He had learned about these bis poles and what they meant, and he believed he had successfully negotiated a deal where he would barter some of his own goods in order to get one of their bis poles. But even though Michael gave them all the things he had offered, they had not in return sent the bis pole. And so now Michael was coming back to hopefully be able to claim the bis pole and take it with him. But as Michael sat in his sinking catamaran, watching the muddy shores of New Guinea get farther and farther away as he drifted farther and farther out into the Arafura Sea, the last thing on his mind was the bis pole. He needed to figure out what they were going to do. Michael's crew consisted of 3 other people. There was a French anthropologist named Rene, and there were 2 teenagers who were actually Asmat guides, and their names were Simon and Leo. And so after Michael was unable to start the engine up, all 3 of them took their turn yanking on the cord, but they too could not get it to start. Finally, Simon and Leo spoke up, and they said to Michael and Renee that at this point they believed their only hope was abandoning the catamaran, jumping into the ocean, and swimming to shore, which for now was about a half-mile away, but they were drifting so quickly out to sea that if they waited any longer, they might be too far away to actually make that swim. But Renee was not a good swimmer at all, and Michael was just not ready to totally abandon ship and leave this thing out here to sink, because on board the catamaran was all this stuff he had brought along, like tobacco and fishing line and clothes and candy and all this different stuff that he knew this tribe wouldn't have, and he could use it as leverage to continue bartering to get his bis pole and to get other artwork they might be offering. And so even though Michael understood that obviously this catamaran and everything on it is going to sink into the ocean at some point, he just wasn't there mentally to jump off now and just kind of abandon all this stuff. And so a decision was made that the 2 Asmat guides, the 2 teenagers, Simon and Leo, they on their own would jump out, swim to shore, and try to get help, while Michael and Renee stayed back and waited for that help to come. And so a few moments later, the 2 teenagers jumped into the water and began their long swim to shore, and as they did, Michael watched, and it suddenly dawned on him just how far away he was from his own home. It had been months since Michael had last showered, so he smelled terrible. He was totally sunburned and caked in dirt, and his hands were rough and calloused from all the rowing he was doing. But this was not really Michael's real life, because Michael was not from New Guinea or from anywhere near here. He was actually from America, where his family was one of the most well-known, influential, and richest families ever. Like in the history of humanity, the Rockefeller family are in like the top 10 of the most powerful people ever. Michael's grandfather was the oil tycoon John D. Rockefeller, who at the time was literally the richest man in the world, and Michael's father, Nelson Rockefeller, was at the time the governor of New York and the future vice president of the United States. But despite having these unbelievable resources at his disposal, Michael was not compelled to kind of be a Rockefeller. Instead, he found his calling in the wilds of New Guinea. He had first come here 7 months earlier with a team of Harvard University filmmakers who were looking to document a very remote tribe. And Michael just fell in love with the adventure of this trip, even though on this trip, while they were filming a battle between this remote tribe and another tribe, Michael got shot accidentally in the shoulder with an arrow. So despite being wounded effectively in combat, Michael just loved being in New Guinea. In fact, Michael actually never told his family about getting shot in the shoulder with this arrow because he was worried if he told his family, the all-powerful Rockefeller family, they would respond by seeking out retribution against one of these tribes that had inadvertently harmed Michael Rockefeller. And so Michael was just very respectful and protective of the people he came in contact with in New Guinea, and in many ways he viewed them as more like his people than his family. And so after the Harvard University filmmakers wrapped up their documentary and went back to America, Michael had stayed in New Guinea. And in the meantime, his father, Nelson Rockefeller, had opened up a museum back home in New York called the Museum of Primitive Art, and what it displayed was artwork from places like New Guinea. Now, this was the early 1960s, and so many Westerners viewed natives of New Guinea, like the people of the Asmat tribe, as being very primitive and backwards. And so as a result, there was a lot of people that were drawn to this new museum in New York just for the spectacle of it, to see what these primitive backwards people were creating. But Michael felt like he had a deeper understanding of the natives of New Guinea, and he felt like it was his responsibility to go out and find the incredible artwork all around New Guinea, including like the bis poles from the Asmat tribe, and send that artwork back to his father to be put up in this museum so that it was more than just a spectacle. Michael wanted the people of the West to appreciate and respect the natives of New Guinea the same way he did, and he believed through art he could do that. And so Michael had teamed up with Rene, the French anthropologist, to go all around New Guinea to find this artwork to send back to his dad.
In here, you can expect to find endless entertainment and more comfort for everyone. But we still left room for all the unexpected things you'll find out here. The new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee lineup.
A few hours after Simon and Leo had leapt off the sinking catamaran and began their swim to shore, Michael and Renee had no idea if they'd even made it to shore. They hadn't seen anybody show up to rescue them, and so as far as they knew, they had no idea how close they were to being rescued or not. And as they looked down, they saw their catamaran was sinking lower and lower in the water. And so at some point, Michael and Renee just grabbed buckets and began bailing the water out of the catamaran, which was totally useless. The water was coming in way too quickly, but they had nothing else to do, and so they're bailing the water out. And then a rogue wave comes through and flips the entire catamaran over, sending Michael and Renee into the sea. And so luckily, Michael and Renee were able to swim to the surface. They swam over to the now upturned catamaran, but there was an air pocket kind of trapped underneath it, and so it was staying afloat. And so Michael and Renee grabbed onto the catamaran, and Michael actually grabbed a gas canister that had come off the boat, and he attached it to his belt like a flotation device. And so he and Renee just kind of held on to this upturned catamaran. Michael was also supported by this gas canister, and they just continued to wait, hoping that Simon and Leo had made it to shore and that help would be arriving soon. But in the back of Michael's mind, he knew that if help didn't come soon, Michael might have to do something drastic, like attempt the swim himself, which now was way farther than half a mile away. By the next morning, when the sun came up, Michael and Renee were still in the water, holding on to that catamaran, waiting for help to arrive, but no help had come. Now, Michael was a very good swimmer, but by this point, he knew they were at least 5 or maybe even 10 miles from shore. So this would be a gargantuan swim in pretty rough waters. But, you know, Michael, he's a Rockefeller. He had a lot of confidence, and he began telling Renee that, hey, I'm going to do this swim. I know I can do it. I can swim the whole distance. Even if it's 10 miles, I can do it. You know, you're going to have to just hang tight. It's going to take a while, but I'll get us help. Renee begged Michael not to go, but Michael said, I have to do something, otherwise we're gonna die out here. And so all Renee could do was watch as Michael stripped off some of his clothes and attached another gas canister to his belt to give him a little bit more flotation. And then Michael shook Renee's hand, and then right around 8 a.m. on Sunday, November 19th, 1961, Michael began the swim. About 12 hours later, so that night, while Renee is still just holding onto this catamaran, hoping help is going to come soon, suddenly, kind of without warning, the sky suddenly erupted with this incredibly bright flame. And what it was a plane flying overhead that had spotted Renee and the upturned catamaran. They had fired a flare into the air to be like, hey, we see you, we're going to send help. And then just a couple of hours later, a boat came around and picked Renee up. And when Renee climbed on board, he was so relieved, and he asked the captain, you know, hey, did Michael Rockefeller tell you I was out here? Is that why you knew I was here? And the captain said, no, we were told by 2 teenagers, 2 guides, Simon and Leo, that you were out here. No one's heard from Michael. Now, you need to remember that Michael Rockefeller was a Rockefeller. And so as soon as Renee heard, oh my goodness, we don't know where Michael is, and he told the captain that Michael had begun this unbelievably long swim to shore to get help, it was like suddenly a bomb had gone off in the Rockefeller family, and they committed all of their money and their resources and their influence to launch the biggest manhunt basically ever to find Michael. They dispatched ships and helicopters and planes. They got in touch with the US Navy and got them to be fully involved. I mean, they looked everywhere for weeks, but they could not find Michael. This search for Michael would continue for years. Now, it wouldn't be as intense as the first few weeks, but there was always somebody or some entity looking for Michael around the area where he had begun that swim. But by 1964, so 3 years after Michael had begun the swim to shore, the Rockefeller family finally accepted that Michael had to be dead, that he had to have drowned on that 5 or 10 mile swim to shore. For the last 60 years, I've been a hardcore whale mail enthusiast. Every morning I wake up and I break out my quill and parchment and I draft up the various messages I need to send to my team. And then after slapping those in my backpack, I dive into the ocean and I swim out until I encounter a whale, and then I jump on its back and I spend 45 minutes wrestling with it until I've secured my packages to its hefty trunk, and then I leap off that beast, wish it good luck, swim to shore, and wait for my mail to get delivered. But despite how glorious this shipping system sounds, unfortunately, in the past 6 decades, not one whale has understood it was my courier, and so as a result, all of my mail has gone undelivered. So, after 60 years, I finally decided to give up on whale mail and join the future and entrust all of my shipping needs to Stamps.com. For 25 years, Stamps.com has been helping businesses save time and money. With Stamps.com, all you
I wasn't avoiding therapy, but I just didn't think it was for me. The idea of therapy I grew up with was someone laying on a couch.
In fact, his sister even wrote a best-selling book about grieving his loss. But in New Guinea, a very different story began to spread about what happened to Michael. Rumors about his fate were whispered along trade routes and between visiting missionaries and gossiped about in tabloid and adventure magazines. In 1969, so 5 years after Michael was declared dead by his family, an adventure magazine reporter named Milt Macklin heard from this mysterious Australian person who was a source for this magazine that they had actually run into Michael Rockefeller recently in the jungle of New Guinea, not far from where he supposedly disappeared. And Milt would actually follow up on this tip, despite how not credible it was, and he would go to New Guinea with a film crew, and he would go to this area, and he would look everywhere for Michael, he would talk to locals. I mean, he really scoured the area, but there was no sign of Michael. And so Milt, feeling very let down by this, he came back home and he actually wrote a best-selling book about his quest to find Michael Rockefeller. But crucially, even though he had shot all this footage, both at a distance and up close, of all these tribes in the area where Michael supposedly was, he and his team never really reviewed the footage. They basically shot all this footage while they were there looking for Michael, couldn't find him, and said, meh, and put the footage aside. But 40 years later, another documentary film crew decided they were going to go to New Guinea and look for Michael, because there were still all these rumors floating around that Michael was alive and living in the jungles of New Guinea. And before they actually went to New Guinea to go looking for Michael, they uncovered this unwatched footage from Milt Macklin, and they watched all of it, and they discovered something unbelievable. Amongst the hours and hours of footage, there is this brief shot taken from a distance where the film crew is shooting on land out towards the water, and you see this canoe come into frame, and it's full of Asmat tribe warriors. This is a war party, and they're making their way, presumably, into battle with some other tribe. But amongst these big, strong men is one man who totally stands out, because he doesn't look like the other Asmat warriors. He is a naked, bearded white man who, again, even though the quality of the film was poor, he totally looked like Michael Rockefeller. And so as soon as word got out about this footage, very quickly rumors began to spread all around the world about how this heir to a billionaire's fortune had decided to turn away from his family and just live amongst the Asmat tribe as one of theirs. Now, again, we have no idea if that really was Michael Rockefeller. It could easily have been, a missionary or some other white person that happened to be in New Guinea, but the story was incredible, and so it spread everywhere. In 2012, so 4 years after this unwatched Milt Macklin footage came to light, and over 50 years since Michael Rockefeller actually went missing, a National Geographic journalist named Carl Hoffman, who had grown up totally fascinated by the mystery surrounding Michael Rockefeller, he decided that he would go to New Guinea and finally get to the bottom of what happened to Michael Rockefeller. And after Carl and his interpreter went to New Guinea and lived with the Asmat tribe for months and gained their trust and gained their respect, they began to tell him a brand new story that he had never heard before about what happened to Michael. The real story. And they gave him a dire warning that if he ever told anyone what actually happened to Michael, that the whole village would likely be killed, and maybe even he too would be killed. But Carl didn't listen. After hearing what really happened to Michael, he left New Guinea and wrote a book about it called Savage Harvest. And from his book, here is what happened to Michael Rockefeller. On the morning of November 19th, 1961, so roughly 24 hours after Michael had jumped into the water and began this 5 to 10 mile swim to shore to get help, 3 Asmat tribe elders named Finn, Ajim, and Pep sat amongst 50 other tribe members in 8 long canoes. And they weren't going anywhere. They were just kind of resting at the mouth of this river, the same river that dumped out into the Arafura Sea, which is exactly where Michael and his crew had ran into all those rough waters and overturned, causing their whole situation. And so all these tribes people are just sitting there in their canoes. Some of them are smoking loosely wrapped cigars. Others are chewing on flour made from a palm plant called sago, and they're all naked, minus a couple of bands around their knees and their elbows, and some of them had very intricate piercings in their noses and their ears, but they're all just kind of sitting there. It was a long day, and they're enjoying some peace and quiet. But then suddenly, Ajim, one of the elders, noticed something making its way into the river from the sea. It was this white thing kind of slithering towards them, and immediately Ajim called out to the others to look, there's something over there. It's a white crocodile, it's a serpent, it's something. And they all look, and they're watching, and slowly this white thing is moving its way closer and closer to them. And so, not wanting to be caught off guard, the entire group got ready and began paddling over to see what this thing was. Because if it was a threat, they could deal with it. If it wasn't, so be it. And so as these 8 canoes converged on this white thing, some of them had their spears up, ready to attack. But when they finally saw what this creature was, they realized it was not some serpent or crocodile or something. It was a white man, and he was floating on his back, and he had these weird flotation devices on, but he was not a threat. And so right away, all the tribesmen, they put down their spears, they kind of laugh, thinking that they were in danger for a second. And this white man, who was Michael Rockefeller, he rolled over and he looked up and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He's just swam like 10 miles to get here, and he's seeing the tribe that he had come to see in the first place. They've come here to rescue him. And so practically crying with relief, he turned around and grabbed one of their canoes. And as soon as he did, one of the elders, Pep, looked down at Michael holding onto his boat, and then Pep looked up at the other 2 elders, Finn and Ajim, and they just stared at each other, then back at Michael, then back at each other, and then they nodded in agreement. And then Pep helped Michael into the boat. Michael immediately just laid in the middle of the boat. He was so exhausted from that swim, but he was so relieved, and he just laid there while the tribe kind of got back into position. They turned their canoes around and began paddling back up the river, back inland. And as they paddled, they began this very strange chant. All 8 canoes, all 50 plus members of the tribe, all in unison began this chant. And Michael, he had studied the Asmat tribe and felt like he knew a lot about their culture, but he had never heard this particular chant before. And so he was enchanted by it, and he tried to ask them, what does this mean? But they just completely ignored Michael and just continued to paddle and chant. And so Michael just laid there listening, getting carried along to safety, when all of a sudden the chanting stopped and the canoes turned and kind of made their way into this little inlet that led to a clearing right on the shore. And so Michael noticed they were slowing down, and so he kind of barely got up and looked over the edge of the canoe to see if they were at their village. But when he looked up, he saw there was no village in sight. It was just this clearing out on the shore. And right away, Michael's like, well, I hope we're going to the village soon, because I have to find someone who can get in touch with the authorities, who can then go and rescue Renee, and hopefully find Simon and Leo as well. And so Michael began trying to ask the men in his canoe if they would help him, but there was, of course, a massive language barrier, and neither side really understood the other. And then at some point, one of the men from the Asmat tribe just began laughing at Michael. And when he did, the majority of the rest of the tribe looked over, saw what was going on, and they too began laughing at Michael. And so Michael had no idea what was going on. And then before he could do anything else, the entire tribe stopped laughing, and it was like in an instant, they were back into that rhythmic chanting as they slowly began making their way out of their canoes, making their way onto shore. And so Michael began to sense that something was wrong, and instead of getting out of the canoe with the rest of the tribe, he kind of instinctively laid back down on the canoe, almost like he was trying to get away from them. And when he did that, the tribesman who had first laughed at Michael, he stood right over Michael as he's doing this chant, and he smiled at Michael, and then he raised his spear and he drove it into Michael's side. And the second he did that, other members of the tribe raised these horns they were carrying and began blasting into their horns. And so Michael, he's screaming out in pain, but he's got no strength to defend himself. And so he kind of like rolled over onto the other side on this canoe, kind of trying to protect himself. And when he did that, the guy just lifted his spear again with a big smile on his face and drove it into Michael's other side. After the man pulled the spear out, Michael, who's in horrible pain, managed, perhaps with his adrenaline, to pull himself up and over the side of the canoe. So he kind of fell out onto the mud, and he tried to stand up to get away from them, but there was nowhere he could go. And so as he's kind of fumbling in the mud, two of the tribesmen walked up behind him, grabbed him under the arms, and they began carrying him across the clearing towards the jungle. And as they walked, that rhythmic chanting continued, and periodically Michael would hear someone blast on their horn. And so Michael was dragged across the shoreline into the jungle, and then finally to another clearing in the jungle, not anywhere near their village. And Michael was positioned in the middle of this clearing and put on his knees. And so Michael, he's kind of guarding his sides with his arms. He's incredibly weak. He's on his knees. The tribe kind of formed a circle around him, and they're continuing this chant. And then at some point, one of the tribesmen walked up to Michael, grabbed his head, and pushed it forward, exposing the back of his neck. And then another tribe member walked in. And again, the whole time, this chanting is going on. Horns are being blown. And this other tribesman comes up, and he raises an axe, and he brings it down on the back of Michael's neck. It would turn out the Asmat tribe knew who Michael was. They remembered him from his visit several months earlier when he had attempted to barter for their bis poles. And they had been totally offended that this rich white man had shown up and thought he could just buy one of their sacred artifacts like it was some trinket to be put on display in a museum. And so they had held on to a deep hatred for him. That was why they didn't send their bis pole to him. They weren't going to give it to him. But when Michael had kind of magically floated into their river, and suddenly the Asmat tribe has him sitting in their canoe, the three village elders, Finn, Ajim, and Pep, they all just kind of looked at each other and nodded in agreement that they were going to ritualistically kill Michael to avenge the deaths of many of their fallen warriors that those bis poles apparently contained the souls of, because many of their warriors had been killed by white men in the past, and so Michael was going to be their way to avenge their souls. And so that chant that Michael heard them all saying, that was the chant they did when they performed this execution ritual. Except they didn't just kill Michael. After one of those tribesmen brought the axe down on the back of Michael's neck, another tribesman walked up and grabbed Michael's hair, pulled his head back, and used a knife to slash at his throat to actually remove his head. And then after his head was removed, again with all the chanting continuing in this circle the whole time, members of the tribe came up and began cutting Michael's body absolutely to pieces, separating his organs and his flesh and his bones into different piles, and then very quickly they got a fire going and cooked and ate Michael. And of all the parts of his body that were eaten, his brain was apparently the most important, and so only Finn, Ajim, and Pep, the three elders, were allowed to eat the brain. And then finally, after they had finished eating and took all the remaining meat that had not been consumed, and they put it into their pouches to eat later, Finn, one of the elders, took Michael's skull and he would bring it back to the village and he would cover it in banana leaves and he would paint it and treat it like a trophy. A few days later, when that huge search party came through the area looking for Michael, the Asmat tribe knew they could never whisper a word about what happened to Michael, because if it got out, it's very likely that Westerners would want to retaliate against them. And so for decades and decades, their secret stayed safe until Carl Hoffman of the National Geographic heard the story and then wrote the book about it, Savage Harvest. But despite publishing this book and lots of people reading it, there was always some question about the credibility of the story, because remember, there's all this intrigue and mystery around Michael's story to begin with, and now we have this account coming from the Asmat tribe, and so no one really knew how legitimate it was. And so to this day, the Rockefeller family, and generally speaking, authorities at large, still say that Michael Rockefeller drowned on his swim to shore trying to get help, and that's it. So that's going to do it. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to check out our podcast called the Mr. Ballin Podcast, where we
join large-scale battles with military vehicles. The online action game War Thunder has received a major update. Direct Hit. Joining the battle.
I have to start today's video with a disclaimer. Don't go to Dudleytown, Connecticut. This is not a prank, it's not a stunt, it's not clickbait, it's the truth. I'm confident that at the end of this video, there are gonna be people that want to go. Don't do it. One, it's illegal to go to Dudleytown, it's private property. And two, as you'll see in today's video, there is a reason why people abandoned Dudleytown. It is not a safe place for people. But before we get into the story about Dudleytown, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, the next time the like button is playing an intense game of online FIFA, wait until they get the lead and then unplug their Wi-Fi. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. It was a bright summer day in 1906, and Dr. William C. Clark and his wife Harriet were driving slowly through a beautiful part of northwestern Connecticut called Litchfield County. Litchfield is a rural, very hilly area with lots of winding country roads, and the Clarks were there to try to scout out an area to build their second home. The couple lived full-time in New York City, where Dr. Clark was an oncologist, which is a cancer doctor, and he was also a professor at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons. And while the Clarks' lives were very exciting and fulfilling in the city, they were also very hectic and chaotic, and so the reason they had settled on Litchfield as the place to look for a location for their second home is because today's episode is a very creepy and highly disturbing camping story. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do.
In 5th place, we have the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose. Fun fact, California.
There have been dozens of cases where YouTubers were exposed to be predators, but we're going to explore 8 of the most infamous cases, starting with EDP445. Before the notorious cupcake incident on the 18th of April 2021, EDP was a favorite creator amongst almost everyone, as he was one of the last YouTube creators with absolutely no filter, therefore tackling every topic regardless of the vulgarity.
I was like, just staring because I was trying to hold in my ass cheeks. I was trying my best not to on myself.
No doubt, EDP had some hilarious moments throughout his career, building a fan base that was always there to support.
And we're starting things off.
There's a lot of moments in NASCAR where
we noticed she was kind of stumbling. She kind of had a head tilt, just a slight head tilt.
There's a lot of moments in NASCAR where you just have to see it to believe it. A lot of the things that happen in NASCAR happen at a split second. And some of them, there's no way you would believe it unless you saw it. Well, in this video, we're going to be looking at some of the greatest see it to believe it moments in NASCAR history. Starting off in the middle of the 2013 Kansas playoff race, there was a caution that was thrown because of a fire that started on the grass but outside of the track in turn number 1. Kevin Harvick was leading, and as the smoke billowed over the track, a lot of the drivers were complaining that it was hard to see, so they had to throw a caution for the smoke.
Something going on up on the hillside hospitality area overlooking turn 1, and you see the drivers racing through that smoke. It doesn't have anything to do with what's going on the racetrack. We'll see if we can find out exactly what it is here in a minute.
Well, that's got to be unsettling for the drivers to drive through that, Dale.
I promise you, at 190 miles an hour entering that corner, already treacherous conditions to start with.
It puts another car on the lead lap.
Yep. David Gilliland gets the free pass. Second of his laps that he needed to make up. Got them both. So the 8th caution flag of the race. And that one's a little different. That one is a little different. Pit road not open yet because the pace car is still having to collect the field.
He's actually sitting on the backstretch. He didn't quite get out there. And
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is probably going to be well known for his victory in the 2023 Daytona 500. But for me personally, the biggest Ricky Stenhouse moment that I remember is this crazy finish at Iowa when he blew his engine and teammate Carl Edwards plowed into the back of him while sliding through the oil at the finish of the race.
Planning to move? Join the 6 million families who discovered a smarter, more flexible way to move with Pods. Save up to
Looks as though he's got a little redemption in mind here tonight.
Oh, look out as he has a tire situation. Here comes Edwards right into it. They cross the line, and guess who wins the race? Stenhouse.
Well, thanks to Carl Edwards.
I hoped by the time I got to him that he would be out of the way. That was my only hope to win the race, but I don't think anyone's ever finished 1-2 with 2 torn up race cars like that.
Motor was kind of messing up on us there a little bit. We'll have to look at it at the shop, but awesome job to this team. We couldn't do it without these guys working on this thing.
This is probably one of the more painful see it to believe it moments. Kevin Harvick was trying to claim his second ever championship. All he had to do was have a decent day at Martinsville and he would be locked into the championship race. Kevin Harvick was having a career season, picking up 9 victories and an insane amount of top 10s and top 5s while leading at almost every race. It all came down to the final corner at Martinsville when Kevin Harvick had to pick up 1 position to make the championship race. And we all know what happens after that.
Through 3 and 4, he is going to win his way into the championship 4. Elliott wins at Martinsville. Can Harvick do it? The final turn. He needs the position.
Oh, Harvick spins the 18.
Turns into the 18. He turns as well. The 18 crosses the start-finish line, and Harvick is going to be out of the playoffs. The legends of NASCAR. Only 8 before him have ever won 4.
Oh, he's got a flat tire. The left front tire's flat.
It's down. He's going to go into the wall. Kyle Larson into the wall. The 48 of Bowman's going to get by him. A flat tire for Kyle Larson. And now Alex Bowman is going to win at Pocono.
Unbelievable. It's rare to win back-to-back races in NASCAR. It's even more rare to win back-to-back-to-back races. Well, Kyle Larson was trying to get 4 wins in a row, something that hasn't been done since 2007. He was 1 corner away from doing it until it all went wrong.
Good note for Kyle Busch. He won both prior races as he's got his hands full.
Get out back.
Wow. That was a save. That was a great save.
Difficult it is. Look how sideways Kyle Busch is. That car's crashed. It's basically crashed. He putting down his own tire tracks. He saves it, and unbelievably, doesn't overcorrect. It's so easy for that car to turn back to the right. He works it back and forth. That is pure just ability and reaction at that point.
Here's a look at the 5-hour energy move of tonight's race, and Kyle Busch around. Okay. And he saves it as he did in 2012 when he went on to win. He spins it and saves it. Caution is out.
Kyle Busch is the modern driver who could save a race car at any given moment. These next 2 saves by Kyle Busch are just completely insane. The amount of car control that Kyle Busch has is something that very few drivers have, and Kyle Busch can save race cars unlike anybody else.
Again on Denny Hamlin's car riding around the racetrack.
This is the second time we've seen the hood fly off of the 11 of Denny Hamlin. This time, though, it looks as though the hood pins have been knocked out. It wasn't just that the pins weren't put on. It looks as though he may have hit someone and knocked those pins out of the front of that car.
And he's able to continue on because he can see through the flap in the hood. Where the flap opens in case the car spins, it keeps it on the ground. That's directly in front of him. So that's blown up, and he's actually looking through that hole. That's a
Imagine being blindfolded and trying to drive. That's probably impossible. Well, Denny Hamlin managed to drive without being able to see out his windshield at a road course race of all places. Denny Hamlin's hood flew over the windshield on his car at Watkins Glen, and he drove around the track. That is something impressive. This next clip is by far one of the craziest finishes in the NASCAR Xfinity Series I've ever seen. All 3 of the drivers were going for it at one of NASCAR's greatest tracks.
Oh, there's a lot of contact. I want to
had to. And now Larson readies the car again. Creed off of the corner. Can Sheldon Creed hang on? His win would take him into the playoffs.
Watch Noah Gregson right here.
The 9 looking low. Noah Gregson to the goal side. And Creed, he pulls the video game move. He's in the wall. Can he keep the throttle up? Here comes Noah Gregson. Creed cannot do it. And Gregson will win at Darlington.
Jimmy Johnson is one of, if not the greatest driver in NASCAR history. He won a lot of races. Not a lot of them were honestly that exciting, but he picked up 2 wins in his career in thrilling fashion. One of them was the 2005 Coca-Cola 600. Jimmy Johnson makes a late race pass on Bobby Labonte to close out his victory that night. Also, the 2011 Talladega race, where he beat Clint Boyer by just inches, being pushed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., passing all the leaders in an epic 4-wide pass. You ever play those NASCAR games where it's very hard to avoid the cars crashing? Well, this next clip, it's like everybody forgot how to avoid other cars crashing and just all piled in. This is the craziest crash to finish a race that nobody honestly seemed like they wanted to win. Everybody kept on crashing, and it wasn't until 11th place James Busher came to take the checkered flag.
Half a lap to go. Here comes Stewart in the 33 as Logano goes to the point. 3 wide in turn 4. A squeeze to the outside wall. Trouble in the corner. Hard, vicious crash. Who gets through to win the race? Caution flag has just been called. The race leader is James Busher in the 30 car. Unbelievable.
The inaugural race at Charlotte Motor Speedway under the lights saw one of the craziest finish the sport has ever seen. It saw Dale Sr. being turned by Kyle Petty entering turn 3, and then Kyle Petty and Davey Allison coming to the line crashing. Davey Allison would win the race. Unfortunately, he hit the wall and was unconscious, but this is one of the wildest moments in NASCAR history. These next couple clips are honestly pretty entertaining and funny. The inaugural NASCAR Roval race saw, in practice, the pace car spin out. This next clip saw a jet dryer, not Juan Pablo Montoya, catch on fire at Pocono while trying to dry the track, and then Matt DiBenedetto being turned by a safety truck on pit road. This whole segment of clips is just very crazy, and honestly, I wouldn't have believed it unless I saw it.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Talladega Superspeedway is the halfway point of the NASCAR playoffs with speeds of almost 200 miles per hour, racing in 4-wide packs and big wrecks. You can't win the championship at Talladega, but you sure can lose it.
There's a lot of moments in NASCAR where you just have to see it to believe it.
Here comes the inside lane. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back to the front. Another hood flap flies off. Oh, around goes the 18. The 42 collects the 17 as well. The 62 upside down. Brendan Gaughan upside down as he went back in front of the pack.
We're wrecked here, guys.
And the big one happens right at the front of the field.
There is absolutely no way that this will ever happen again in NASCAR. Brendan Gaughan, while in the lead in the Talladega Fall race, gets turned and pushed in the air, doing a barrel roll and landing back on his wheels on all 4 tires while in the lead. Brendan Gaughan is quite a character in NASCAR, and this is the most Brendan Gaughan thing I've ever seen. During the final clash that was ever run at the Daytona International Speedway, Eric Jones was caught up in multiple accidents, having a horribly damaged race car. But with 1 lap to go, he was being pushed by a lap-down car, which was his teammate, Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin pushed him all the way to the victory that day.
Well, all day long, I didn't want to be in the field as much as they were wrecking. But I really think, look at this run coming from Eric Jones.
3
now
wide.
3 to the inside, 3 wide.
Jones with the most damaged car in the race. He's in the front.
Now, can Denny Hamlin...
Dillon slipped up high.
Is Denny Hamlin going to make a move on him and still try to win this race? Doesn't look like it. He's going to push his teammate to the win.
Eric Jones is going to win the Busch Clash with a car that's ready for the dumpster.
Fuel mileage races are so rare nowadays, especially with the stage format that was introduced in 2017. But during the 2015 Pocono race, it had one of the most wildest fuel mileage races ever.
What does the 18 do now?
You know what he does? He goes, man, I wish I was saving gas this whole time. He still has to make 2.5 more laps.
They're on the same strategy. Can the 18 make it? So Joey Logano runs out of fuel going down Long Pond straightaway.
But Jeff, I don't see it accelerating off the corner. I think he's completely out of fuel.
He's out.
He's shaking it, trying to get gas. The guy behind him, Matt Kenseth, could steal it.
Stay on the track. Stay on the track. 16 seconds.
Yeah, stay on the track. You can't use the access road. You have to stay on the racetrack. If you use the access road, you've shortcut the corner.
But here comes Matt Kenseth, the yellow car coming up behind him. Matt Kenseth could steal this one away, or he's got Brad Keselowski behind him that could take it as well if Matt Kenseth can't hang on. Kenseth takes the lead away.
Oh, nothing works on this acne.
Hi. Who? I'm a licensed dermatology provider from Curology. Answer a few questions, I'll look at your skin.
Good job, buddy.
Matt Kenseth is going to win at Pocono.
Bill, spotter tells the crew coming to you just as fast as you can blink your eye.
Oh, and he loses the wheel. Wow. Or loses the tire.
And he just missed clobbering the end of that wall.
That's going to be a caution. That's actually good luck for him.
Long way to go, though, to get to his pit stall, the #1 stall, all the way at the end of pit road.
Kurt Busch's chance to win this championship almost came to a smashing end against the end of pit wall.
Watch how close he gets to the entrance of pit wall here. Wheel lead right here.
What was it? A foot? No more than a foot.
Kurt Busch was inches away from never winning a NASCAR Cup Series championship. If that tire rolls off into the barrels and he flies into the barrels just as Kyle Larson did in 2023, Kurt Busch's championship would go up in smoke. But Kurt Busch somehow was able to maneuver his car to not hit the barrels, change his tire, and get back out on the racetrack. That day, Kurt Busch won his first and only NASCAR Cup Series championship. Winning 4 races in an entire season is pretty hard to do. But winning 4 races in a row, now that's something not every driver can ever do or even see sight of ever doing. Well, Kyle Larson was 1 turn away to making it 4 races in a row. Only a few drivers have ever done that in the history of NASCAR. But it was his tire that decided he would not win his 4th race in a row.
Trying to join the legends of NASCAR. Only 8 before him have ever won 4.
Oh, he's got a flat tire. The left front tire's flat.
It's down. He's going to go into the wall. Kyle Larson into the wall. The 48 of Bowman's going to get by him. A flat tire for Kyle Larson. And now Alex Bowman is going to win at Pocono.
Unbelievable.
Denny's on the low side of the track trying to get underneath Biffle.
Oh,
trouble, and it involves Hamlin. The championship points leader goes around, and can he save it? Caution is out. He keeps it off the wall.
We're going to need 4 tires. Come on around.
See, Hamlin gets a run.
I don't see Biffle turning left.
I mean, he might have come just a little bit, but Denny was going up into him there also. Always looks a little different, I promise you, from the driver's seat. It's exactly what does happen. You think you're giving them enough room, but that right there showed that's just
It seems like nowadays that Denny Hamlin will never win a championship. In 2010, he was so close to winning the championship. He entered Homestead Miami Speedway, the final race of the season, in the points lead. But during the race, he had an unbelievable mistake that he made that cost him the championship.
And another great restart for the 4 of Kevin Harvick. Smoke in the tires, the 9's going to miss it. He gets into the wall. Race leader. Chase Elliott into the wall, and the caution will come out.
Unbelievable.
Out of turn 4, he'll make the last chicane. And Chase Elliott put on a dominating performance today. He'll win at the Charlotte Roval.
Chase Elliott accidentally drives head-on into a wall while leading the race. During the 2019 Charlotte Roval race, Elliott crashed his car in turn number 1, luckily not damaging his race car at all. But at that time, Chase Elliott was the king on road courses, and he came back to win that day. There is no way this will probably ever happen again, especially with a new next-gen car. The jack underneath Joey Logano's car was left as he exited the pit stall. He was able to drive all the way around the track without the jack coming out from underneath the race car.
Why? Well, the underwear is.
Blaney went to move up, make a pass. Byron blocked him. Got him really. Byron Blaney turned into the wall. Kyle Busch. And just like last year, Blaney.
Jennifer. So she got Rory and friend. Yeah, that's what we need closer all day. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I'm getting rounder, but my underwear just roll right off. Really? You don't?
Okay, maybe.
You don't think
it's just pain. She's sitting right in here.
Yeah, and she's pushing my organs up. So it's all your fault.
We accepted it.
What? What do you mean I accepted it, sir? But you mean I?
Because it was Peyton this morning.
What'd you do with all our clothes?
Oldest, all your shirts are right there. Your pants are in your block. Find someone. I love you.
And shower done.
Pedophile. What? What?
Yeah, I know. Taxi! 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 He's good. Nowhere. He just happened. He likes. It happened. It's fine. He likes it. He really likes it. He's good.
Oh man, bro. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Father. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Got you with the follow back. Trying to unlock this new weapon. Apparently, I was doing the shit wrong. Thank you. I tried. I'm not good at sniping, but I'm getting a little bit better. This is one game. I like the way they changed that map from Modern Warfare 2. Pretty cool. Thank you for the follow, Claudin. Claude. I probably botched that. Oh, it's a bot. Wah, wah. Gotta love them. Like the third time today. My thing is, like, you say add me on Discord, but my Discord's on my profile. Hi. Maybe I'm weird. I really do appreciate that, follow. Oh damn, my camera's not on. Ah. I forgot my camera was off. You can counteract it in your settings. No duh. Well, that's a good one. God, I fucking hate people that lay down. I can't do that shit. Oh my. Damn. Oh. What the? Oh, I'm at 300 followers now. Let's go. Oh, he's behind us. A hit marker? Really? Why would it? Oh my god. Oh. I'm playing like ass now. Babe, you can get in the shower now. Damn. Owie. Oh. I got stunned. Owie. Why am I spawning? That's weird. They're everywhere. Babe. Don't forget you said you would take a shower. I'm trying to wait. I'm ready to go to bed, but I'm waiting on you. What? I mean, that'd be nice. wrong with you? What the fuck is your issue? What I do? You gonna assassinate from the front now? Alright, stream. I'm over here falling asleep. I will be back on open around lunch, but we will see. Thank you everybody for stopping in. Thank you Claude and thank you Nikki for the follows. I greatly appreciate it. Hope y'all have a wonderful night.